Ride through the city like Brennan Schaub. I'm on a mission to get it all. Ride through the city like Brennan Schaub. If you ain't thick, please don't get involved.
And now, Brandon Thick Boy Schaub.
Yeah, Monday, November 20th, 9 a.m. on the dot. Kids, what is poppin'? What's crackin'? How are you guys? Getting ready for Thanksgiving? What's everybody doing? Yeah? Can't hear you. That's cool. Turkey, dry turkey is usually the norm. A little dry turkey. I'm a big stuffing guy. A little stuffing, a little cranberry sauce, some gravy. It's one of the downsides being married to Mexican. They like to kind of take over this holiday, and I had to put my foot down. Okay, so I had to put my foot down and say we got to whiten up around here because it was too. We got American up around here.
Well,
you know, American up around here. Just because they'll have sopa, the pozole. It's just I can't have soup on a holiday.
Soup's not a meal.
No, dude. As a grown man, we can't do it. So me and my father-in-law, and he could not get any whiter, we're in charge of making this thing a little more American. So I get that dry turkey for the kids. I get the stuffing, the cranberry, and it's kind of a two-course meal there. Mexican, then American. And I force them to watch bad football. It's always although Lions, since I've been alive, have been traditionally terrible, but they're good this year, so it won't be terrible football. And Dallas is on too. Dallas is always on. Lions on, so not terrible. So I force them to watch that. But that's it, man. What you got? Are you staying in town?
I'm going to San Diego. Going to Kyle's.
Chin?
Orange County with my parents.
Your parents? And do you guys do a traditional?
You always ask me this every year.
I always forget.
So it's a mix of American and Korean.
Oh yeah.
So we'll have kimchi, turkey.
No duck?
No duck.
Turduckins?
No. Dude, I would love a turducken.
Turducken is turkey,
chicken and duck. I would love
inside of what's it inside of the duck?
I think the turkey's a big part, then a duck, and then a chicken. Disgusting. Or chicken then duck. I don't know.
Disgusting.
It sounds amazing to me.
Disgusting.
Whatever, dude.
Yeah, whatever, man. The holidays can kind of mess things up, especially in LA. Like, there's no traffic today. The gyms are empty. I guess people are on vacation. Where do they go during Thanksgiving? People go on vacation for Thanksgiving? I guess because they have some days off.
Yeah, I mean, LA in general just shuts down from like Thanksgiving to New Year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, LA, especially as far as entertainment side, literally the agents, all the big agents, Hollywood is off from Thanksgiving to mid-January.
Damn.
Never heard anything like it. The only people that have easier vacation schedules are teachers. Shout out to teachers. You guys should be paid more. But also, you have summers, spring break, winter break, fall break. Come on, what are we doing here? But agents, man, I mean, they get their 10% no matter what, dude. So they get all the time off. Yeah, LA shuts down during holidays, dude. It's weird. Trying to get this car stuff together. Everyone's on break, man. I got a problem with the lightning. Everybody's on break. It's driving me nuts. It still runs. It's just like driving a Mini Cooper. It's not how it's supposed to be. So I got to wait till the 28th to get the PCU checked out because I can't do it myself. It seems complicated. Seems weird. I could probably tune it myself, but when it comes to that weird stuff, I should leave it to the professionals. Otherwise, I'm going to blow that thing
Computer
up.
Stuff especially.
Yeah, with the tuning and all that stuff. I'm like, I was reading online. Shout to, I think it's lightningmodders.com. The forums, fantastic on there. I've been reading that. I was up at 4 a.m. reading it for about 2 hours. And the more I go down that rabbit hole, I'm like, probably let a professional do this. Now, did I paint the grill yesterday black? Yeah, I can handle the cosmetics. But when it comes to tuning, let's leave it to the pros. I'm going to blow that thing up. I just get anxiety. Because I've always tuned my cars. Any car you've ever seen me in, I've always tuned these things. When I say me, I pay somebody to do it usually. But I've never left a car normal in my entire – never car I've ever had have I left it normal. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I've always tuned cars, and then now a buddy of mine, Hector's like, man, you should post this stuff, the car content. I'm like, all right. He was right, and I met so many great people through doing that. The problem is when you decide to take a passion into content or, I guess, work, is there's time. You got to create content. So then you're on a time schedule. Instead, when people mod their cars, there's no countdown. You don't have to put out content. So it could be a year, 2 years. There's no rush. The anxiety I have to create content through this Lightning and TRX is insane for you guys. It keeps me up at night. I got problems. But, yeah, it changes the game a little bit. I like the pressure and all that, creating the content to make sure. Because you can't go drop dope, Toontown episode in November and then take off to March until you come up with something. So it's under this time crunch. For content, when you guys see something, like that first episode of Toontown took months. All that stuff takes months. So you see it in 12 minutes. So it's like the next episode, it's kind of, we'll figure it out though. But it's like condensing everything that most people do in maybe 3 years. And then you're months. And you're waiting on this company or this part or this tune or it's just like, and then, it just takes the car business is different than anything else. Like, especially when you're working with, tuning and stuff like that. They just don't move fast,
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, we're in, man. You're like, cool, say less. 2 weeks go by. Hey, man, just following up. Got an episode try to create here. Let me know. He's like, no doubt. We'll get right back. You're like, right. 2 months. Hey, bro, just so we got to create this content. And he's like, oh, right. You're not just doing it to do it. So most times, again, people take a few years to get this stuff done. You're trying to condense it down a month, 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah.
And if there's an issue like with the Lightning, all right, bud. It's fun. I love it. I'm obsessed with it, consumed with it. The frustration comes, I'm not a gearhead to the point where I can't change out the headers. I can't, the wiring, stuff like that. I can't do that. Where if it was up to me, your boy would be covered in grease. If I could do all of it, that bad boy would be done. But you can't. It's just not. You got to leave it to pros. Like, there's guys who have worked on, like, there's one guy in that Lightning modders he's owned 10 Lightnings. He's tuned all of them himself, so he knows the ins and outs of it. Do this, don't do that. Like, yeah, that's the guy you need to listen to. You don't want to make a mistake on your own ride and blow it up. And then you have the aspirations. I'm going to get 1,000 horsepower to the rear wheels. Okay, bud. Well, what's that include? Then you're talking about rods and oh my God, all this stuff that goes into that. And it's like, is that the best thing if you want to drive that every day? You can't do 1,000 rear wheel horsepower. It's just unrealistic. Sounds nice, but the amount that goes into just building that engine so it doesn't blow up and so you can drive it for a daily, that's not realistic. It's just not. 600, 700 rear wheel horsepower, that's realistic. When you say 1,000 rear wheel, come on, bud.
Yeah.
This isn't Vin Diesel. We're not stealing parts, I'm not jumping off bridges, I don't have a Vin Diesel.
Spooning.
God, I wish you were a Vin Diesel. You want to be dope, Chin, if you could do all the tuning.
I wish I could.
You would hate me. I would harass you all the time. We'd be hanging out all the time. You're like, hey, dude, I can't work on a Sunday at 11 a.m. I'm like, yes, you can.
I know.
And I'd just be hanging out, drinking beers, watching you do work, dude.
Hell yeah.
Those shops are so crazy. I remember us doing it. All of our friends, we were in a car club.
Yeah.
So it would take literally 6 months or even longer to do like body work, engine work. It just takes forever. But I'm sure you're on the top of the list. But even though you're on top of the list, it's going to take time.
It takes time.
Yeah.
And I'm so impatient.
Yeah.
The worst you've ever seen. Yeah. But that's the way it goes. All right. As far as fight news goes, it's a slow time right now.
Kind of slow.
So this is what in the biz we call the off season for UFC fight fans. This would be the off season. You got a banger happen at the end of December. We will have a fight campaign for that. We have some great guests lined up. But as far as just we've been on a bender here where you've had great content, great fights, one after the other. UFC really cranks out, and then like the entertainment business, they shut it down. You have some fight nights, those Apex centers, basically in Dana's backyard. He doesn't even show up in his pajamas. The crowd's not really there. Those are a bit of a bummer. They don't really count where I come from, but they still count on these professional fighters' records. So they're knocking out a few of these fight nights until they get to December 16th. They're just edging you to December 16th. And then starting January. Then we're in full-blown season. You're going January 1, you got freaking O'Malley, Vera 2, and then you got Volkanovski, Topuria. And then January 13th, you got a freaking ridiculous fight.
I think honestly the website's messed up here because
it says 299 January 1, 298 January 1.
yeah. So the first fight
It
card.
should go January, February, March.
So the first fight card I remember reading this was Ankalaev versus Walker in 2024. So that should be the first fight card.
Yeah,
which is
not
great.
January 1.
Yeah, so-
that's weird.
The UFC website sometimes is not great, dude.
So your next big one is January 20th. That'd be UFC 297. Because 298's in February and then 299's in March. So you can get Ankalaev and Walker 2 January 13th. That's to kick off the season. And then you have the first major pay-per-view January 20th in Toronto. That's UFC 297. You have UFC 298 in February, UFC 299 in March. And then April's UFC 300, right?
Yes, let's see.
Yeah, March 9th should be that UFC 299, and then 300. They have an idea when it's going to be. We know they're
it's
saying
not been
April
announced.
6th. Most likely April 6th.
April or yeah.
I got a little conspiracy. I think because UFC 3, if you look at the lay of the land, most of the big dogs are taken before UFC 300. So UFC 300, I think you get Conor McGregor, Chandler. And then I also think, and I have no inside sources. I didn't source check anything with this, but if it's just what appears, what I think this could line up. I think UFC 300, you're gonna get Conor, Chandler, and you're gonna get GSP Diaz, Nick
Whoa.
Diaz.
What?
Whoa.
Okay.
Oh, that one got you guys, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That one woke you up, huh? Yeah. And here's my only assumption with that. If you notice lately, GSP's posted a hell of a lot more. He's way more. When guys retire, they're usually not that active on social media. They're just not posting like training, any of this. You look at GSP's social media, he's posting way more content. He's in phenomenal shape. He's supposed to grapple on December 15th. They pulled him from that card. He's just commentating on it now, right?
Yeah.
So he's in shape. I think they're pulling him, and I think he's staying in shape to come out UFC 300. I have no reason to think this
No reason.
besides just adding up the clues here.
The social media posts.
Yeah, very active, in phenomenal shape. Was getting ready to compete in a jiu-jitsu match. They pull him from it. He's just commentating. They probably went, let's not blow your load on a grappling match.
They said I think he was supposed to be injured or the other guy was injured. I don't know.
Sure he
That's what
is.
they said.
Oh, and they couldn't find any other jiu-jitsu practitioner in the world. I'm not buying it.
So then in that case, if it's Conor Chandler and GSP Diaz is the main and co-main of non-title fights,
It's a good point. Yeah, because you look at all the big title fights, it's all taken. Who else they can put on there? Because you have 300, like 200, UFC 100, UFC 200, UFC 300, 100, 200, big boys, man. You look at those cards, UFC 100 was a banger, man.
Yeah.
Think about it. UFC 100 was Brock Lesnar and Frank Mir, ridiculous fight. GSP, Thiago Alves, Dan Henderson, Michael Bisping, John Fitch, Paulo Thiago, Akiyama, Alan Belcher, Mark Coleman, Stephen Bonner, John Jones, Jake O'Brien, Jim Miller, Mac Danzig.
So crazy to see John on the prelims too.
That is crazy, right?
Yeah.
So I got out that Friday was the day before UFC 100, and I got out of the Ultimate Fighter House on that Friday because I went to GSP's hotel room before weigh-ins, before he weighed in.
How'd that go?
He was nervous as hell,
Yeah.
and I barely knew him. He's like, Brendan, I don't know what to do. I'm like, I just got out of Ultimate Fighter House, man. I don't think you want any advice from me, dude. But that was because they had the big expo too at that thing. It was crazy. But you look at UFC 100, bangers. Obviously, times are different now. They're not going to load it that much. Look at UFC 200.
Tate Nunes.
So you got Amanda Nunes, Misha Tate, Brock Lesnar again, Mark Hunt, DC, Anderson Silva. Remember that was supposed to be somebody else, but
Yeah,
short
yeah.
notice. Jose Aldo, Frankie Edgar, Kane, Travis Brown, Pena, Kat Zingano on the undercard, Kelvin Gastelum, Johnny Hendricks, TJ Dillashaw, Assunção, Sage Northcutt, who's a big deal at the time, Joe Luozon, Diego Sanchez, Gegard Mousasi, Jim Miller, Gomi. Stacked, dude. UFC 200 was more stacked than 100. Now, why was UFC 200 more stacked than 100? Because this is when they're trying to get acquired and get evaluated and bought out. So they stacked this on purpose. Remember, that's where Mark Hunt's lawsuit with Brock Lesnar in the UFC came about with all this. They brought Brock Lesnar in. So this was, and they had that horrible yellow mat. It was supposed to be gold, but someone messed up on the paint color.
It was weird, yeah.
It was hurt your eyes. But so UFC 200 stacked, 100 stacked. You don't think they're going to stack 300, some big names? They're notoriously known for pulling these legends out during the 100s, 200s. Why wouldn't they do it for 300? Also, PFL acquired Bellator this morning. So hold on, go back to this. I'll get back to Bellator acquired by PFL. So location rumors go down.
Here's the rumors part.
UFC 300 rumors. John Jones Israel will keep him out. Yep. Jones can't. Islam Makhachev rematch of Charles Oliveira. That could happen. Piera at an easy night in the office. You could do Piera. He wouldn't fight homeboy. Touch of sleep. Connor will probably be on there. Keep going.
That's it.
So they know as much as I do.
Exactly.
But there's going to be some big names. That's why the GSP thing makes sense to me. If they can get him out of retirement. But clearly he wants to compete. He's more active on social media. Nate Diaz is down to fight. Could happen. You got Connor on there. Chandler. Who knows? Alex Pierre could make it happen. Makhachev, Charles Oliveira could happen on there. Dustin Poirier wants to fight. They're going to have to stack it, though. And again, my point of them stacking UFC 300, they're going to stack it no matter what. Mm-hmm. They'll figure it out. But I think there's even more incentive to stack it because PFL acquiring Bellator happened this morning. And their big thing on this is because we have Bellator and also PFL now, it says our fighter roster equal to the UFC, both 30% top 25 world-ranked fighters. So this pitch never really works. Whenever an organization compares themselves to the UFC, it never works out. So even though statistically they can match, 30% of the top 25 world-ranked fighters in the overall rankings, no matter what organization they're in, you don't have the top 25, 30%, it should say, of stars. Your top 3%, nobody gives a flying shit about. Just be completely transparent. Do I watch them? Yes, but I'm a weirdo and hardcore, and most like the people watching this, you watch it. But as far as the casuals, they can't name your top 2 in any weight class. That's the issue. That's why Bellator failed. Bellator failed because they could never get their own stars. They always got outdated, older guys who were built in the UFC and came over to Bellator when they were way past their prime. And that's how they got recognition. You can't build a business model off that. You can't make money doing that. You have to build your own stars. And PFL's kind of heading that direction, But think about it. They have Anthony Pettis, right? They did that. They've had other guys. They do have Jake Paul, which is a little different. They have Francis, but where did Francis, get his notoriety at? UFC. So these leagues, notice one championship, one of the reasons they stick out, they build all their own roster. They don't have older UFC fighters or current UFC fighters that have an issue with data and then come over. They build their own roster outside of just MMA. They have striking, they have jiu-jitsu. So they're completely in a different lane, and they're massive. But when it comes to the U.S., this is where I disagree with the MMA experts. I don't refer to myself as an expert in any facet. But the journalists out there that go, competition's good for the UFC. It's a shame that Bellator's going under. I disagree. I don't think there's enough eyeballs for multiple organizations in America alone. Internationally, yes. But as far as America goes, how have other football leagues done? Awful. How have other basketball leagues done? Awful. Why aren't there more baseball leagues? Because there's not enough eyeballs on the MLB. Why would someone branch off and do their own thing? So when it comes to the U.S., I'm not talking about internationally, but when it comes to the U.S., there's only enough attention span for one major organization, it's the UFC. Because they have all the stars, they have all the money, they have all the backing, they have the funds and the marketing to make superstars. There's not enough resources, there's not enough eyeballs for other organizations in America. There's just not. If there was that much capacity to do that, you'd have other football leagues. Football's way bigger than MMA in America. Basketball's way bigger than MMA in America. So you would have other organizations. There's a reason why you don't. There's a one-stop shop. When people refer to MMA, they say UFC. When they refer to tissue paper, they refer to Kleenex. When they refer to soda, they refer to it as Coke. UFC is MMA in America. I don't think there will ever be any competition. There could be some fun ones, and we'll watch them in here because we create the content. We're weirdos. We watch everything. But there's just not enough resources for another league to excel. The UFC has it on lock. Nobody will ever come close. There's no other Dana Whites. There's no other roster like it in America. It's just not freaking happening. So if you want to get in the game and be second best, by all means, do it. By all means, do it. And this PFL thing and Bellator thing, I think it's good, but they're going to leave it separate. The Bellator guys, from what I understand, can still join the PFL tournament style where they're up for $1 million, but they're still going to leave it separate. And they're going to do a mega fight of Bellator champs and PFL champs. Again, the issue is it doesn't matter. Do we like it here? Yes, but it doesn't matter. If you have one unrecognizable champion, whatever league it is, fighting another champion that we never heard of, and they fight, okay, you're getting the same rankings. You're getting the same ratings. It doesn't matter. You can get more competitive fights. That's dope. But as far as stars, there's a reason why this took so long for Bellator to get bought out. What are you buying? You're buying a sinking ship, let's be honest. Name 10 Bellator fighters. Go, Chan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can name 10 that they've had in the past because their associations with Pride or with Strikeforce, with UFC. But as far as Bellator built and grown, you know, it's tough. It's tough. So if you want to be second best, but you have at it, it's just not happening. It's just not happening. And the reason why they're not just folding Bellator into PFL is you have two separate TV deals. So there's more income for the owners. So the PFL has ESPN in the back end of the Saudis. Now that they've acquired Bellator, it's going to be a separate thing. So you're double dipping. You're getting two different TV deals. Even if it's all under ESPN, it's still two separate deals. So they're double dipping, getting both the benefits instead of just folding into one. UFC did it. WC did it with Strikeforce for a little bit. But they're double dipping, and then they fold until they drain that thing, and then they fold into one. So we'll see what happens. I just don't, even them acquiring Bellator's roster, it's not like they're acquiring this insane roster. Yeah, there's a lot of talent, but as far as stars go, I don't know. But with the Saudi money and the backing, and you got Jake Paul and Francis over there, I think it's make some waves for sure. But as far as trumping UFC, not happening. The only thing that could trip the UFC up, the only thing, is this lawsuit. If you're not paying attention to it, you should. You're going to get into the weeds there, but you should pay attention to it because the way these lawsuits work is usually an organization as big as the UFC worth billions and billions of dollars. If they get sued, they usually settle. Here's a bill, get out of here, and it goes away. The difference in this is now this is going to court, and this is what they've been fighting for. It gets court. They have to, relinquish all their accounting, stuff like that, which we haven't been privy to. The issue is the people behind this, Kung Lee, John Fitch, Koscheck, all these dudes and the lawyers, If they settle, there was no reason for this. If they settle, it doesn't change the game for the better. So to my understanding, they're not going to settle. The UFC would be lucky to settle at a $3 billion lawsuit. $3 billion. Now, if this goes to court, which it is, if this goes to court, which it's going to, and the UFC loses, they're going to owe around $5 billion, which I don't care who you work for, how much money you have, $5 billion would really, really hurt the UFC.
Okay, I'm just looking.
Huge blow.
I'm just looking at this right now. I just typed in the plaintiffs. It says Kung Lee, Nate Quarry, John Fitch, Brandon Vera, Javier Vasquez, and Kyle Kingsbury. I don't think Josh Koscheck is in it. I'm not sure though.
I'd be surprised if he's not.
But just this is a quick Google.
But yeah, so you got Vasquez, Kyle Kingsbury, Kung Lee, Nate Curry, John Fitch. That one's interesting. Because, again, usually a company of UFC's magnitude, they can just pay them off and go away, and it's over. You sign the NDAs and all that stuff, and it's over. But when you're dealing with fighters who aren't just going to take the money and run because they want to change the game, the UFC's in some trouble.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see UFC get hurt. I don't want to see them go down. I absolutely don't want to see that. It would be nice if there's some changes in fighters' pay, and this is the only way to do it.
Exactly.
Yes. Unfortunately, it's the only way to do it. And it's gotten to the point where you're looking at a $5 billion plus payout if they win. Good chance they win. They got some dogs on their team. They got some. I mean, UFCs have the best lawyers in the business, but so do these boys. So you got two Titanics facing each other. But that's the one thing that could hurt the UFC, where PFL with their Saudi backing money could kind of make some ground here. Depending what the court forces the UFC to do, because they have a monopoly.
Yeah, and that judge that reopened it and said they wanted more discovery to open up more of the files.
Scary.
Yeah, so
that's the more they have to do discovery, the worse it is for the UFC. My only question is, so how's UFC different than I know how they're different in aspects of the NFL are employees. The players are employees. They're not subcontracted.
Yeah.
The UFC says they're not employees, they're subcontracted. So the union, all that stuff. All right, cool. I'm just curious how the NFL is not a monopoly. The NBA is not a monopoly. There's somebody way smarter who can explain this, who's pulling their hair out right now. Like, this is why I get it. It's just a simple question. How can the NFL and NBA and MLB do it and the UFC can't? How are they different than that? Now, is it just because their fighters are labeled as subcontracted, so they don't have to share as much revenue and health benefits and stuff like that, and 401ks and retirement and compensation? I assume that's how the UFC finagles their way around it, saying they're subcontracted. We don't have to give them that much money. Where the NFL can't do that. NBA can't do that, even though they're monopolies.
yeah.
Nobody knows, do they? Just a bunch of
dumbasses.
dumbasses.
Yeah, we're dumb, but I mean that makes sense. Every other big league has a players' union.
They have to
collectively
because
bargain.
they're employees.
Yeah,
yeah, because they're in it together. The UFC's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's the UFC or bust.
So the UFC is basically
subcontracted.
Whatever they can benefit from them as being contractors, and then whatever they can benefit them as being actual employees. They're trying to do the employee thing, but they're contractors. That's why there's like a discrepancy.
Yeah. So certain time, like you have to wear this Venom outfit. Okay, but we're subcontracted.
Yeah, the likeness stuff was also crazy.
And
too.
we also own your name and likeness.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're subcontracted because you're treating us like employees, but you're paying us like we're subcontracted.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume these lawyers are way smarter. You'll be surprised, man. Way smarter than me. That's their argument.
Yeah.
They're treating them like employees, but paying them like they're subcontract, and they have no benefits. They have no leverage here. And then they control the entire market. So they got to be employees.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with the
It'd
lawsuit.
be cool if they said on, okay, they're employees, we're going to give them benefits, but we won't pay $5 billion. That's probably best case scenario, where it changes the game forever. They're employees, they get their benefits, and they get compensation. They have to pay like the NFL or NBA of 50% or 47%, whatever they come to agreement to, but they don't have to pay that lump sum fine of $5+ billion because that's going to make them go belly up, and then we don't have a job.
It'd be tough, yeah.
If this show is based on PFL Bellator, why do you think Showtime went belly up? I told him you can't have a business off Bellator. It was my number one disagreement with Showtime. I can't do a show covering Bellator. Why? Nobody tunes in. Oh, we disagree. We just got to build it. Nah, I'm telling you, can't do it. They would force, right? They'd force me to cover Bellator, and that was my contract. That they had investment in Bellator. So remember, you guys would make sure Brendan covers Bellator this and Bellator that. I'm like, there's nothing there, man. Nobody cares. Look at the proofs in the pudding. I talk about UFC, you get this. Talk about Bellator, you get this. It's very clear. Again, they had investment into Bellator, and I get it. Scott Coker's great. Absolutely love Scott Coker.
Yeah, Scott's amazing. He's the one that brought so many UFC champions from Strikeforce, right? He's the one that found all this talent.
Strikeforce.
Yeah. I mean, he started Strikeforce, got all this talent, and those talented people became champions in the UFC.
Here's the question. Is Scott Coker too nice to run a fight organization? Is he too good of a guy and too friendly? Because Dana's a shark.
Yeah.
You look at any Fortune 500 company, go meet those guys. It will hurt your feelings how nasty they are. That's why they're there.
Yeah.
Scott Coker, you'd want to sit and have coffee with him all day. Dana, I don't think so.
Who knows, man?
No, I know.
I mean,
no, I know. No, good question. I know. I've sat with both of them. I know.
I mean, you could tell Scott seems like a more chill dude for sure.
I'm telling you, he's really nice.
Yeah.
Super nice.
Yeah.
It's just in order to get that level, you got to be a bit of a savage. Those NFL owners, go sit down with Jerry Jones. Let me know how it goes for you. They're fucking savages. When Steve Jobs was alive, go sit down with him. Savage, dude.
I do think though that if you and Dana, because you don't work together anymore, if you and Dana were just together, you guys would get along really well.
We align on everything.
Yeah, the fact that you guys work together, that's why it was kind of
agree.
Yeah,
That's why it's weird how long it takes for the public to get over something. Even when I do my tour, fans come up dude, you see Dana, dude, stick it to him. Or I loved when he stuck it Dana. I'm like, God, that was years ago, dude. Really?
I mean, you didn't stick it to Dana. You were fighting for fighter
pay.
pay.
I won 10-9. I stuck it.
But you're for fighter. You're saying about the sponsorship shit
because it affected me,
and it affected everyone else that had sponsorships.
Yeah, and now that I'm older, a little more wiser, I'm like, oh, he wasn't making a decision off of how can this hurt Brendan, where I took it so personal.
Yeah.
He was like, how can I make my business more valuable? Talk to the top guys. Even though I was a top 10 guy, I was probably top 5 in sponsors in that division. But he would have no idea. He's worried about his business.
Yeah, he has
not the Brendan Schaub
hundreds
business.
and hundreds of fighters.
Yeah, dude. But remember, at the time when you're fired, you're in your own world. So I took it so personal. I got so mad. Launched the show, talked all this shit, and I give him kudos for that. Now I'm older. I'm like, oh, I get it.
And now that you're running your own business, you
100%
absolutely
get
it. Yeah,
100% get it. 100% get it. I have no issues with him whatsoever. Even on Golden Hour, Eric, because Nick and Theo went to go do a podcast with Dana. I'm asking Nick about it. He's talking about Eric's like, I thought you guys hate him. Or when I was on the Fight Companion, and he's like, man, you're being way cooler about Dana these days. I'm like, I'm 40, dude. He's done great stuff. This entire network is based off UFC content. I owe a lot to that guy. I have no issues with him now. 0 issues. Rogan's like, I liked it when you were more of a hater. Dude, isn't Dana one of your best friends? So am I. Wouldn't you want us to get along? People like drama. People like chaos. Sorry, it's not there.
yeah.
Eric's like, what the hell, man? I'm like, are you in a hot tub time machine? I've been mad at the guy in years, dude. We align on everything. The moves he does, gangster. Yeah. Peloton pulled their sponsorship from Theo. Dana was like, what? Pulled all Pelotons.
Yeah, from
Gangster.
PI or whatever. Yeah.
Would do the exact same thing as in his shoes. We align on every capacity. No issues with the guy. The fighter pay thing, that's tough. That's tough. All right, what do you got, Chin?
Alrighty. So I showed you this the video earlier about the early stoppage, right? So this guy
head arm choke.
Yeah.
It's
so
weird because the ref, one of my favorites, it's Beltran, right?
Beltran, yeah, Mike Beltran.
Mike, I
Yeah.
love Mike. We have the same tattoo artist. He's a great guy.
Oh, nice.
When he reached for the hand, it's not like he was limp. It was still defending.
Yes, yeah. So the tough part here is that Trey Ogden, he was the one that was winning basically the entire fight. So the last 2 minutes, that's when the choke, whatever, that's when Mike Beltran stopped it, and now it became a no contest. So unfortunately, no contest means you don't get your win bonus. So hopefully he's asking dude, I did everything. I was winning the fight. I should at least get my win bonus because it's not his fault. It's the referee's fault for not,
Yeah.
So hopefully that happens. That would be so messed up if he doesn't get his win bonus.
I know.
Yeah. That's another thing.
You hope Dana's watching, but who knows? It's a small fight night.
Dude,
There was no energy in that building. I was watching. I'm like, are we back in COVID again? Where's the crowd?
What's Apex though?
There was 8 people there. Where's the crowd?
I mean, Apex. It's going to be small no matter what, though. But
Yeah.
All right, real quick. Can we take a little
Oh,
break?
it's Thanksgiving, so you know what that means. Great NFL games. So be thankful for your family, friends, food, and the NFL all week long because you can watch and eat turkey and get all fat and happy and make money with DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping your Thanksgiving week full of action. New customers can bet just 5 buckaroos on the NFL action to score 150 instantly in bonus bets. No matter your appetite, there's something for you. Money lines, parlays, props, live bets, and so much more. You name it, they've got you covered. You know the Lions are playing. You know the Dallas Cowboys are playing 2 great teams. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use the code SHOPSHOW. New customers can bet 5 on the NFL Thanksgiving action to score 150 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL with the code SHOPSHOW. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467369. In West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. Please play responsibly. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. For problem gambling, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, must be 21 or older in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance.
This is where it gets
Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms.
Yeah.
Dude, I feel your pain now, dude.
Isn't it a beast?
It's a
now do
beast.
that 8 times a week.
All right. Next up.
I'll tell you what, I couldn't get through it unless I was on that Kratom from Happy Hippo. That helps me get through the reads because it is the best turbocharge for your brain. It's like Magnuson supercharger for your brain. It is freaking Kratom at Happy Hippo. You can't just trust anybody. It's the Wild West out there when it comes to the Kratom game, but they have it all. Powders, gummies, taffy, energy shots. They got the K-Dips. If you use Kratom, this is your one-stop shop, and you get 20% off by going to happyhippo.com. Promo code is THICC23, 3 C's, and the number 23. You get 20% off for life for the best Kratom of all time. The only Kratom that I trust. It's the Maxson Supercharger for that brain piece. We're talking about Happy Hippo. Get you some. Happyhippo.com. Promo code THICC23.
Alrighty.
What do you got, Chin?
This was funny. So Nina Marie,
Love her.
she's awesome.
She's crushing it.
She did an interview with Tom Aspinall, and then Tom Aspinall asked her a question.
Here's the thing. So when you look at this,
Yeah.
you're like, oh my, Aspinall, what the hell are you doing? But if you've watched any of Nina's stuff, she's very. The reason why she's so big is she's so likable, so lovable, and she's completely opposite of what everyone's doing. It's not like she's just talking about the X's and O's of fighting and punches and kicking and who's your next opponent. Are you looking forward to it? She goes outside the box. That's why she's so great. She's gonna be massive. She's already big. She's gonna be massive.
Yeah.
But if you cut her interviews into little clips, you're going to be like, what the? It makes Tom seem like a complete creep here, like you should have my mustache. Or Brian Callen's for that matter. So when you just watch this, you're like, what the hell? But if you watch the entire interview, it doesn't seem as weird.
Yeah.
So you got to be very careful with
And
this
she
stuff.
defended him too.
Yeah, she was like, cancel culture is hilarious. She's like, how are you going to cancel me and Tom? So if the female interviewer doesn't have an issue, why do you? If the female doing the interview who's crushing it and is friends with Tom and all the fighters, why would you have an issue? Have you seen any of her Sean Strickland coverage? It's great. It's like nothing you see. Her and Sean are super close, so she has all this access to him. So Sean is not like a typical Strickland interview. His guard is down. You can see the real Sean Strickland. That's why they do so well. Here, again, if you take a snippet, whether it's Sean Strickland, this, Geary interview, she goes all around. It's different than anything you've seen, so it's going to be a little outside the box, and the fighters feel comfortable with her. That's why, again, she's crushing it. Mm-hmm. But, again, if you cut it into snippets of, oh, let's hate on this, you can do it with any of the interviews. It's stupid.
Yeah.
Go ahead and play it.
I mean, what do you think, Case? Playing the Twitter clip?
Yeah, let's try it.
All right, let's give it a shot.
And you can tell she's not uncomfortable.
Have you ever been fingered by an MMA fighter before?
Fingered?
Yeah, fingered.
No.
What would it take to
To finger me?
Yeah.
Like,
She's all to finger me.
are we talking about the same thing?
But it's not like Tom would just come out with that out of the blue. It's not like she's sitting down like, so how do you feel about John Jones or how your win over Sergey? And he's like, yeah. What would it take to finger you? Like, Jesus. No. You got to watch the whole interview.
Yeah. And she said even like Tom was referencing all the comments, the crazy messages she gets. So he was just kind of like playing her role too, like saying the same kind of question.
Correct.
Yeah, it's all in fun.
And she played like smash or pass with Hamzat.
Yeah,
like
dude.
it's lighthearted.
It's her thing. Yeah. It's nothing of this weird cancel culture. Tom's this creep. No. But again, you cut that snippet. You can do that with any show. Like, look at this. Guys make a career off doing it to me. Look at the Brendan said this. Brendan did this. Or anybody.
All right, so moving on to this. Finally, or not finally, but thankfully, UFC is rebooking Magomed Ankalaev versus Johnny Walker, and we mentioned that this will be the first fight, in 2024 for UFC, and they'll headline.
And this is just them. They have to do the rematch for that. UFC is usually not huge on rematches,
but
they
that
have
was
to
a
do
terrible.
this rematch. Yeah, it's terrible stoppage. They have to do this to figure out who's next. They have to.
Yeah.
I would assume the winner of this fights Alex.
I would imagine too. And, okay, so this is going to be a few in a row. So Aljamain Sterling said that he was offered Calvin Kattar because he's going to move up in weight. And then Aljamain said he's targeting Max Holloway.
Because he's going up in weight,
Yeah.
correct? At 45.
Yep.
And so the UFC was like, cool, say less. Here's Kattar. And he's like, well, no, that's not the fight I'm
He wants
looking
someone
for.
higher.
He's
Yeah,
like, I
yeah.
was a champ. I don't want to fight Kattar. And so now he wants to fight Max Holloway. Dude, take
That's a
my
great
money.
fight,
Take
yeah.
my money. Two of the nicest guys in the sport. Take my money. First team all nice.
And then I saw this with Mark Raimondi interviewing Max Holloway. And so Max Holloway says he's shooting a shot for UFC 300 against Justin Gaethje for the BMF belt.
Take my money.
Yeah.
Take my goddamn money.
At lightweight.
Here's the problem for Aljamain is Max has his eyes on this much bigger fight against Justin Gaethje.
Yeah, this is too long to read.
See,
but
that's
yeah,
a
pretty
UFC
much it.
300 type matchup. That has UFC 300 all over it.
Yeah.
And the UFC is looking for ideas. So when Max says that, they go, we like that. I'm sure Justin would take it.
It's a great fight, yeah.
Max at 55 worries me a little bit because the power. If you saw the Poirier fight,
Yeah.
the power difference is a little alarming there, but his boxing is ridiculous.
And if he's calling for it, then, yeah.
I love it.
All right, so remember we talked about Ian Gary getting kicked out of Leon Edwards' gym because apparently some insider said that Leon was getting or Ian was getting the best of Leon and he didn't want that to mess with his confidence.
Yeah, but then it came out that Leon actually knocked Ian
Yeah,
Gary
apparently
out.
he knocked him out.
And Leon was like, there's an interview, and Leon's kind of, he's on easy in the interview because the Ian Gary stuff. He's just like, he's just not a fit. In those fight camps, if you put somebody into that team and it messes up the chemistry, you got to get them out. And that sounds like it's more of that.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's all it is. Is like someone's just not a fit, messes up the chemistry. You're like, yeah, he's good, but we're fine. We're world champions without him. We're gonna be fine with or without him. He's probably better if he's not here. That's all this is.
Yeah.
This makes Ian Gary look worse. I'm a huge Ian Gary fan, and he's so talented. He's gonna be champion one day. But he has to ditch this stuff. We got to ditch this drama stuff. We have to.
Yeah. So Leon did say that his coaches and him and his team, they basically say that Ian comes in with cameras and he does all the social media stuff. It's like he shows up late sometimes. You know, it's just back and
Just
forth.
not fit.
Yeah.
Ian might have to, because he's at the level he's at and he wants to do all that stuff, he might just have to start his own team.
Oh,
Like Vitor Belfort did that. GSP did that. There's a lot of guys. Brock Lesnar did that. I don't know if he's at that level yet, but there's certain guys who are like, I'm just going to do my own thing. It's about me. They just bring in certain camps where it's Team Ian Gary. So you just bring in certain pieces depending on who you're fighting, but it's never the same team. It's tough, dude.
yeah. And apparently, since he's been booted out of multiple gyms, it's like, I don't know, his personality is so different. Like, he's got to
Might just
curate
clash.
his own.
He's a very outlandish dude,
Yeah.
and he's outspoken, so it might just rub a lot of fighters wrong. Again, nothing wrong with that.
It makes him special, I guess. So anyways, this is a clip that they were referring to. This is last year. I'm not going to play it, but it's basically his I think girlfriend at the time, but now wife. She said like, oh, what happened to your mouth? Because they had to go to the dentist because it was so painful on his mouth, his teeth. And they were saying that Leon Edwards did it to him.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so that's kind of like
Head
where it
kick,
came from.
headshot.
All right, this is kind of cool. So Deontay Wilder and Eddie Hearn, who have been feuding a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
for
especially
years.
about the Joshua fight. They somehow were in the same place and in the same plane and like sitting really close to each other. And
In
now they're
first class.
discussing.
Yeah.
They're discussing a potential matchup finally with
Love
Joshua.
it. That's all this takes, man.
Yeah.
Cut the bullshit, give us the fights we want. That's it. That's all we got to do. Saudi Arabia announced that freaking crazy heavyweight card.
Which one?
The only heavyweight boxing card. It's like all heavyweights.
Saudi Arabia heavyweight card?
I think it's going to be Joseph Parker, Deontay Wilder. It's going to be Anthony Joshua's on there.
Tournament? Let's just look it up.
There you go.
Oh, that's May 17.
And they announced Fury Usyk in February.
Yeah. So thankfully it's like a little bit later.
Josh and Wilder fight separate opponents in December 23.
Well, let me show you this real quick. So this just popped up today. It says Jake Paul is struggling to sell boxing tickets for that venue that just holds 3,000 fans. So I guess as of right now, this takes place in December 15th. He sold half of it for that guy that, obviously we don't really know, the boxer.
Yeah, again,
Who's a legit
people look at
boxer.
this go, oh, Jake can't sell tickets. I look at this go, kudos to Jake.
Yeah.
It's so much easier. He would have sold that out, find an MMA guy that we all know, but he wants to be taken seriously as a boxer. This is one of the downsides. You're not going to get the same traction. You're not getting the same coverage from the MMA media, obviously. So, it's a big risk, but he wants to do it the right way. So hats off to him. Also, 1,500 tickets sold in 3,000, and you're still, 3 weeks out? 4 weeks out?
And people usually buy tickets late, like last minute anyways.
Especially during the holidays. During the holidays, people they show up late. So I becomes close to selling that bad boy out. It's not terrible.
No.
Yeah,
But
it
that's
gets
the headline
clicks.
there, for sure. So what do you think about Jamal Hill saying that he's going to stand up against Alex Pereira if they fight
What else would he
for the
do?
title? Well, Jamal's great, right? Isn't he?
What, he's wrestling? No, that's not his forte.
No, isn't he? I'm pretty sure he's well-rounded, no?
No.
And more athletic, at least?
No.
All right.
No. Yeah, I mean, what else is he going to do?
Well, he's saying he's going to KO Alex standing up. And he had like a ton of like people coming at him for saying that he would, they're not on his level, like Yuri or Alex.
I mean, they're on his level, but, I mean, to be fair, Jamal Hill, better boxing than both of them. His 1-2 is no punk. That's how he became world champion. That's not an easy fight for Alex. I think that's a tougher fight for him than Yuri. Because Yuri will entertain the grappling, stuff like that. Jamal, no, he wants to straight box. And his hand, he's fast too, man.
Yeah.
In
He's
heavy
super athletic,
hands.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not an easy fight for Alex. Now that I think Alex gonna win because of the leg and stuff like that. It's a great fight. I don't know who wins that one. Great fight though. We're not getting it for a hot second.
All right. So I know you posted about David Goggins training Tony Ferguson, but I don't think we actually really talked about what you think about this type of training. right? So it's more like, well, I'll say this.
It's more mental.
So David Goggins apparently put a bunch of different athletes through his Hell Week, and Tony is the only one to survive it, right?
Different level. Now, is he going to be overtrained? Maybe.
Yeah, so that's the argument that some people are saying. Like,
Are they
is he-
overtrained?
Yeah.
Look, for Tony, I don't think there's a thing such as overtraining for him. He's always a guy who trains nonstop. So I think this is a perfect marriage between him and David Goggins. For Tony, I think it's more of a mental thing. So whatever happens in the fight against Paddy Pimblett, I would imagine that Tony's down to swim further down in that ocean than Paddy is when it comes down to it.
So all this is for the mental aspect.
All
of it.
mental.
Well,
But
there you go.
fighting's not just about mental. You're fighting a much younger guy, and also Tony has a lot of miles on him, so that chin's not the same. So even though mentally you might be at a John Jones level, if your chin and your body can't compete with that, you're going to lose the fight. So like David Goggins said, he goes, I've done my part with him. He completed Hell Week. Mentally, he's ready to go to see the devil. But it's fighting.
Yeah.
You know? So I think Tony's made the right choice. I think this is great for him, especially in the state he's in his career and where he's at. But at the end of the day, there's nothing we can do to speed up his muscle memory, the reaction time, the chin. There's nobody in the world can help with that.
Yeah, he says like the fight's gonna go the way it's gonna go, but
Yeah.
yeah.
David did his part. I sure as hell wouldn't go through Hell Week with David Goggins.
Why? Here's a quick one. This is a PFL, their next pay-per-view event. This is the price on it. So it's $49.99, and these are the headliners here.
There you go. That's the problem. If it was $4.99, I wouldn't.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, who's gonna buy?
The last one ate dick too.
I mean, so Derek Brunson, Ray Cooper, that's dope. OAM.
This is
and
the
Clay
problem.
Collard.
This is the problem, Chin.
Yeah.
Why? But if you don't have pay-per-view is a star model. If you don't have
There's
stars,
definitely not stars
who
here,
in the
yeah.
fuck is going to pay for this? Why are you doing this? Who's this for? In order to create stars, you have to have access to people so we can see them and people decide if they like them. The UFC doesn't, even though Sugar Sean had a great knockout win on Dana White Contender Series, they don't go, oh, he's on pay-per-view, buy his pay-per-view. The fans like, I don't know if I like this guy. I'm sure as hell in this economy I can pay $50 to watch him. I don't get why they're doing it.
I don't either.
The last one had 800 buys or some shit like that.
It was very low for sure.
Terrible.
All right. This is kind of sad, but this just happened also recently. So remember Julie Kedzie? She's OG, women's
Super
MMA
old school,
fighter.
yeah.
Used to be from the UFC. She did commentating too for Invicta FC.
Yeah, she was
probably
great.
still does.
She was at Greg Jackson's when I was there. She was great.
Oh yeah. So anyway, she started feeling symptoms of CTE, like a lot of different things that were really bad, and she's now saying that she's going to donate her brain to CTE research.
That's cool.
After
Hopefully that doesn't mean she's thinking about going or some shit.
I mean, for her to make that decision right now, I think that's better than she's at least.
I mean, she's a pioneer in the sport, man. If you don't know who
Yeah, she's OG.
Julia, yeah, she's a pioneer.
And I don't know if you've seen these posts, but Chael Sonnen, I knew it was fake in the very beginning, but Chael Sonnen did a post that he got a tattoo of Anderson Silva, right? But it was apparently to promote Anderson Silva's TV series on, I don't know what network it is, but
That's cool.
Yeah, so then they watched it together, and then Chael actually cried during watching it. I can't play this clip for you, but yeah, I thought that was super cool.
They're all best buds now.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you this too. Like, so I don't know. I'm sure you don't keep in touch with the people you fought, but of everyone you fought, did you ever have any like continuing bad blood? Or are you always like?
But I never had bad blood.
Okay.
I never had any issues.
Yeah.
Like the worst issue I had was Travis Brown after the fight. Me and him hugged, and he was like, "You all right?" I was like, "I'm all right, man." I
Yeah.
wanna jump off
I
a
imagine you'd be
bridge.
that way
I
too.
want to jump off a bridge, but I'm okay. Thank you, sir. And you ruined my lip. I look like the guy from freaking Hannibal now. Thank you. The Red Dragon. Thank you. The only people I talked to I fought, Mitrione, of course.
I remember
my
that
boy.
one. Yeah.
Matt's my boy. And then me and Roy Nelson talked still.
That's cool. Yeah.
Outside that,
It's always cool to see like rivals and then they become friends afterwards. It's
I never had any rivals. Probably got paid more if I did.
All right. All right, let's see what's good here. There's really not. Oh, okay, let me ask you about this. Okay, so The Rock was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he said that at one point he was considering going to Pride to fight.
He wouldn't make it up. What's he need? More followers?
I don't. But
I believe it, but I bet it was just thrown out there. I bet it wasn't as close. Let's see. 97, I was still going to L.A. working out. We were crossing all the MMA guys. Pride just opened up in Japan. I started seeing all these guys going over there at Pride at the time. I was making $150,000 wrestling 235 days a year. Do the math on that and how much you're making per match. We started hearing these guys in Pride are making $250 up to $500,000. I thought, fuck, I don't think I'm going to make it in WWE. People are booing me out of the arenas. I can't be myself. They're telling me to fucking smile. I don't want to effing smile. That's not who I am. I thought he was a smiley guy. All right. I started talking to Ken Shamrock. I started talking with Mark Kerr, talking about Pride. I have this idea in my head. Maybe I should train in MMA, go to Pride and make a real money, and I don't have to smile. I'm going to get effed up, knock one of my lungs loose. But if I find the right coach and train, I have this whole thing in my head. Talking to my wife at the time, I think this is the way to go. I can make real money while fans are booing me for $150,000. I bet there's something to that. I bet he floated the idea, but I don't think Pride ever made him an offer. I bet it wasn't even close to happening.
Yeah.
Especially back then. It wasn't like you're in Jumbo. You know, the bad boys in Pride, you know what the fuck they would have done to Dwayne
That's why
Moana Johnson?
When I see this, I'm like, really?
Ignorance is bliss, though. He was like, you're making how much money? I'm a big dude. If I get some training, you know.
All right.
Thank God he didn't. He made the right choice, become the most famous meathead on the planet. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I bet there was something to that. But I guarantee you he never started training in MMA. His team never talked to anybody at Pride. But he probably was like, you're making how much? And he probably considered it, but then, you know, reality hits in.
But I mean, to
And you
consider.
look at Fedor, like and Crow Cop and Rampage.
That's what I'm
and
saying.
Shogun and Mark Kerr and Coleman, Randleman. You look at these savages, Mark Hunt, Overeem. Like, oh.
It was so scary, yeah.
Oh,
All
my
those guys are so
God. No testing either? My
Yeah.
God.
Yep.
Kicks to the face and shit? What?
I remember the first time I saw Vandalite in Pride, and I thought he was like the scariest monster-looking
Ever.
dude ever, yeah.
Ever.
All right, here's a quick one.
Yeah, I don't think Rock's lying, by the way.
No, I'm not saying that, but to really.
He had the idea, but I probably never went further than that.
Okay. So there's no way to really know this figure, but Tyson Fury said that he made 62 million, basically 50-something euros, but that equals 62 million USD.
Again, the
For
Chael
the Francis
he says
Ngannou.
we never know.
Yeah,
There's no way to prove this, but I imagine they made a lot of money.
yeah, obviously a lot of money. And then this is the last one. Mike Tyson, even though he was training Francis, he's saying that Tyson Fury is going to be the one that wins the Usyk fight.
So is the winner of Fury Usyk the number one contender to fight Francis? Think about it.
That's so fun. I mean, it's funny, but
I mean, the only thing, and France ranked number 10 now.
I know. From
My only
WBC,
thing
that's
is
crazy.
because the pay-per-view didn't do the numbers they wanted, is it going to draw the likes of another Tyson Fury, or Usyk, or Anthony Joshua, or Wilder out of their boxing lane to fight a Francis, you know? But again, Saudis don't care about those numbers.
No.
So if your biggest payday is fighting a guy like Francis, they're probably going to do it.
Would you be more excited for Usyk versus Francis or Fury rematch?
Fury rematch.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, dude, that's
Because
pretty
Fury and Francis too can happen. It's kind of like Connor, Nate 4. You can always do that. Or 3. You can always. That's never. No matter how many times they lose, what's going on, you can always throw that fight in. You can. Fury could lose to Usyk, fight Joshua, lose to Joshua, and there's always gonna be the Francis fight. Always, always, always. Saudis know that.
The numbers don't make sense to me because it was such a huge event.
It's the timing. It's the timing. People thought Francis would get murdered. They thought it was a circus. The rematch I get more views, but still doesn't do blockbuster numbers. I mean, they probably fight 3 times. I assume the rematch, Fury beats him, and Francis is like, well, I beat you the first time. There's that third one. So there's a ton of money to be made. which is all we want for Francis.
Of course.
Is that all right, Chin?
That's it.
That's
dude.
it. Great, grand. Tour notes. I'm in Chicago. Next date, Chicago, December 8th and 9th. Chicago, 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday. That's 7, 9:30, both nights. Friday, Saturday, Chicago, 2 nights only. Nashville, January 25th for the Keep On Truckin' Tour kicks off in Nashville, January 25th, 1 night only. Then I'm in Austin on Friday and Saturday, 1 show Friday, 1 show Saturday, 1 show in Nashville. So get your tickets. Then we got Edmonton, Fort Worth on there. There's a bunch of other dates. Get you some. Vancouver's on there in March. Get you some at thiccboy.com. We got merch dropping for Black Friday, but I think we drop it early, but there's a big sale going on at Thick Boy. Jerseys, hoodies. We got the new Rockies theme jerseys and hoodies and hats, so you'll see it on there. I'll be posting on my social media. Get you some. That's thiccboy.com. Get your tickets for Chicago at thiccboy.com as well, December 8th and 9th. thiccboy.com. All right, kids. Love you. If you haven't peeped yet, check out Toontown. My TRX, the first episode. It's a fun one. Love you guys. I'm going to get back to figuring out this broken lightning. All right? Love you. Be safe. Have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for everything this year. It's not the last one, so I don't know why I'm acting like that. But love you guys. Thank you. I'm out.